I want to welcome you back to the Weight Loss Decoded GLP Edition podcast. I am Sharon Polsky, your host and your GLP fact fairy. And on today's episode, we are going to welcome Dr. Cynthia Preston, and we are going to talk all things menopause and weight management. So I want you guys to stay tuned for this great episode. And if you like today's episode, if you could share it with your friends and subscribe and like and do all those things, I would really appreciate it. I am joined by Dr. Cynthia Preston, and we are going to talk about menopausal weight gain and GLP-1s, which is my love language and it's her love language. So Dr. Preston, tell us about yourself and your background, and we'll get right into this conversation.
Hi, thank you for having me, Sharon. Yeah, so my name is Dr. Cynthia Preston. I actually am a naturopathic doctor. So what that means is legally, I am recognized as a primary care doctor. Really, the only difference is insurance doesn't recognize us. So I went on to, after undergraduate, I did go on to a 4-year nationally accredited naturopathic medical school. I think there's maybe 7 now in the United States. And so that is very similar to traditional medical school. In fact, we have more training, more hours in genetics and biochemistry. And then we also have some additional training in our other modalities. And that includes acupuncture, herbal medicine. And that depends on what state you practice in, if you can actually do those. But ultimately, after those 4 years, then we have to take for the state boards that then allow us to be licensed in whatever state that we want to practice. So I'm here in California with Dr. Lee, and I've been practicing for 16 years now.
That's amazing. And how did you get into this menopausal arena? How did that become one of your specialties?
Well, it's actually why I got into medicine. I felt as a female, a patient on the other end when I was younger, kind of got dismissed with a lot of my symptoms. And it was pretty much every solution as I started growing up was like birth control pills, antidepressants, or take it out. Like, that is literally, I feel like, the 3 solutions for any problem with a woman. I was like, this isn't right. So I did see a naturopathic doctor who changed my life around. And so it just naturally shooted me towards the trajectory of doing medicine. And I went the more naturopathic route because I explored some schools, and I just felt in my heart that that was the right direction I wanted to go to treat people.
And you really wanted to help women. Like, your goal was really to help women. I know my mother suffered tremendously from menopause, and there were no solutions. They would say things to her, well, you're just lucky you only gained 10 pounds. Most people gain 20, or you're lucky that you get any sleep. There are some women that get no sleep, and there was no solution for her. So I love the fact that your love language is helping women through menopause.
Yeah, and unfortunately that stigma is still kind of around. It's changing, and luckily there's more research, I think, and I think that helps a lot of practitioners just feel a little bit more confident about having those conversations to begin with. But yeah, it's changing, and I love that it's always changing, and I love that every woman's different. Hormones,
yes,
it's a love-hate because everyone's different, everyone responds differently, but that makes it exciting, at least for me. And God bless my patients that want to just be patient with that sometimes. But the hormones and research have come a long way. So I look forward to talking
and
more
resources have come a long way. I mean, that's really what leads us to the GLP-1s. Like, we have more tools in our toolbox today than my mother had when she died a year before COVID. Yeah. We just have so many more tools in our toolbox today.
Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of times it's not talked about or it was dismissed because we kind of, one, poo-pooed hormones based on previous research of very nasty synthetic drugs that, didn't work. And it just took a while for the studies to really come out and support these other types of hormones or these other treatments. And again, also looking at other longevity factors like diet and sleep. And I mean, it's really come a long way. And
every conversation on here circles back to lifestyle intervention. Every single, like, we're only 5 minutes in and we're already circled back to lifestyle intervention, which is, I think, like Dr. Lee was 5 minutes in, lifestyle intervention. Dr. Gonzalez, 5 minutes in, lifestyle intervention. So, I mean, really, GLP-1s are a tool in a toolbox, but we have to talk about lifestyle intervention and things like that.
Yeah.
So what does cause menopausal weight gain?
So I kind of just like to break it down to three things. And I know that's really simplifying it. The main reason is a loss of estrogen. So if I can kind of do the cliff notes on a woman's cycle, that might help everyone a little understand what estrogen is and why it goes away. So cliff notes version is we're born with so many amount of eggs. And by the age of 35, I think it's something astounding, like 80%, 84% of those eggs are gone. And I think by 38, we're considered geriatric reproductively. And so what happens, so those eggs are the main signaler to our body on the hormone cycle, which is really based on let's be fertile and sexy and get everything ready for a baby. And then if we have a pregnancy, we have an egg that is released, hopefully. If we get pregnant, we have the pregnancy. If we don't, we shed the lining, which most of us know is our period. So there is that whole cycle. So basically, as we're losing those eggs, that cycle, our brain is hearing that we're not getting hormones. And so our brain starts yelling basically at our body, make more hormones, what's going on down there? And those are tests that we can actually measure. And we are looking at how hard is your brain yelling at your body. And so that's where we see that estrogen start to drop off. So there's that lowering of estrogen. When our brain's yelling at us to make more estrogen, this is where fat deposits start to come in. So if we're not getting estrogen from eggs, the next place that our body starts to make it is in our tissue, and mostly our fat tissue.
This is something people don't understand. And it's something I talk to them as a weight loss coach about all the time, because I have men who are obese and they have high estrogen. And so it's so interesting. So estrogen comes from our eggs. And
in a woman's body, and that's a good separation for you to make. Yes.
Yeah.
Men have it too, because yes, we can make it in our tissue. It's a process called aromatization. But our body, as a weird adaptation, was like, oh, we can just add on fat. But now we're living a little bit longer and we'd like to live a bit longer. So that fat isn't really serving a purpose. So the switch is happening, but at a very slow rate. So that's one thing that happens is our body says, hey, let's make more estrogen. We do that with fat cells. Let's slow down our metabolism. Another thing, so that's kind of the big part of menopausal weight gain. And then estrogen also keeps control of our appetite. So if we're losing that estrogen as we get older, like I said, starting at 35, we get that kind of those cravings are a little bit harder to control. We can feel that reflection of what we'll talk a little bit about, that gut-brain axis. But yeah, without that estrogen, we kind of have less independence to make our own decisions about eating. So that neuroplasticity. We have a lot more cravings.
Our brain is just like needs something.
Yeah, exactly, all the time. And that's part of one of the wonderful things about the GLPs is the research on anti-addictive properties and the medicine field that's going into. But but really it's that neuroplasticity. So estrogen, we can kind of function, we can make our own decisions independent of our hunger hormones or satiety. But as we lose that, we don't have that neuroplasticity as much. And so leptin, those hormones or our hunger hormones, it's a little bit harder to override that.
Yeah.
So
it's not discipline. These people don't lack discipline. They're not lazy. This is physiological, biological that's happening.
Absolutely. I love that we need to remind patients that all the time, on not just a hormone level, but on a nutrition level, a lifestyle. Yeah, there's a lot of things that gets harder to control as we age. Um, and so, okay, so estrogen, loss of estrogen. The second thing is loss of muscle mass, lean muscle mass.
Yeah.
So I have to remember sometimes I am not my 20-year-old body as much as I want to be. So I cannot exercise like I did in my 20s. I can't eat like we can't do things. We're just not the same body. It's not a bad thing. We just have to work with the new body, our 30-year-old body, our 40 or
We
50.
have to accept the new body that we have. I feel
We
like
have
with
to
a lot
accept
of
it. We
my
have to
clients,
learn
they are
about
like,
it.
why can't I go back to my 20s? I'm like, wait. Let's accept the new body you have with the new conditions and then create a new program around it instead of
Yeah.
keep thinking about your 20s.
Yeah. And that's the education part. Again, most people have the willpower. They don't have the education or the understanding. Because even if they try, you go on the internet. I don't even go on the internet to look up stuff because I'm like, oh my God, I'm distracted, I'm overwhelmed, I'm going down the rabbit hole. So that's where our role is, and that's what I think is my biggest passion is just like I probably talk too much at my visits. I know that's my big thing is
Oh,
like
no, you
trying to
don't.
cut
Because I
off at
had
an
a visit
hour.
with you and I think you're brilliant. And one of
Yeah.
the things that I really loved about my visit with you is this is off topic, but I'm going to throw it in there anyway, was that I was complaining to you about this elbow problem I have. And you're like, it's actually your neck. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have a neck problem. I
Yeah.
was so happy that you were treating me holistically. I was there for a hormone appointment, but you were treating me holistically. And there's
Yeah.
so few doctors doing that. Dr. Lee does that as well, but there are so few doctors doing
Yeah.
that. So keep talking a lot. I think we appreciate it as patients.
Yeah. Okay. I feel good. So I will. I have no problem. So the lean muscle mass. So that's also going to be so after fat, our muscle mass can make hormones too. And the main type of hormone though with that is testosterone. And so we don't talk about that with women too. Like testosterone, it's with hormones, it's all about the balance. Gosh, it's even we talk about estrogen and progesterone. Most of us know that the ratio, the imbalance, but testosterone and estrogen need a really good balance too.
And there's some insurance programs that won't even pay for a testosterone test. They'll pay for your lab work for estrogen and progesterone and not testosterone if you're a woman.
And I know. It's so stupid. I don't get it. And well, it's mostly because they don't have a drug for women for testosterone. We have to, what we do, compound it, or there's, herbal things. There are ways to get that testosterone up. But that's not a traditional FDA approved medication that is available. So doctors are like, well, why am I going to test it? I don't know how to treat it.
It's crazy.
So
is it unreasonable?
But you can fight for it.
We do fight
get your doctor to do it, and we will definitely do it. So that's where women, this is where the muscle mass comes in. This is where having optimal muscle mass, not just before your weight loss journey, but during, after, is so important for your success and your longevity with that. And that muscle mass, like I said, is the overall predictor of all cause mortality. Like you fall, you break something, that core, you're done. Quality of life down. We don't want to be in an aging. That's what most of us are fighting. And so that lean muscle mass, that core, doing exercises on the floor, practice falling, getting that, because we don't do isolated core trainings. We don't do those tiny firing muscles that feed back to our brain and tell us where we are in space. But women are more prone to fractures, right? Because of that, also that loss of estrogen, which is starting to happen earlier and earlier. And so lean muscle mass is part of the muscle gain. So not doing the right types of exercise that gets you to the muscle mass.
Well, because women want to do cardio all day long to burn fat, and they're just burning their muscle down. We just got to get them to resistance train.
Yeah, and that's all you need. Like I don't know why women are so upset to hear that. They're like, I'm like, no, you don't have to run. You could just sit in your chair and like just. Why are you fighting me on that?
Yeah.
That sounds great to me, but there is a stress, right? There are a lot of women like the release that they get with that kind of cardio. And so there is a right way to do it.
Yeah.
You limit it or you do the HIIT training. There are right ways to do that. So we just talk about that. And sometimes that takes a while to
Yeah,
get
it
out of
really
that
does.
huge paradigm of like less is more. So, and then the last thing was lack of sleep. That's huge
Huge.
for anyone that is overweight, struggling with weight loss, but even more with women because hormones play a huge role in our sleep and our ability for our brain to relax, get the good calming neurotransmitters. Those are completely connected. Serotonin and GABA completely connected with estrogen. So if we lose that, we're feeling like poo, we're not sleeping, I'm going to want to eat sugar and just like veg out. So it's understanding that your body's trying to tell you something's off, and it's usually trying to tell you in your late 30s and early 40s that it's dismissed as anxiety. Like you said, oh, it's nothing, you just got to walk more, exercise, eat less. And I can tell you, I mean, obesity doctors, medicine, I mean, it's just going crazy with this because we know the number is only 5 to 7% of people that can succeed with diet and exercise. That is so low.
Yeah, I mean that's what I've seen.
That,
That's what I've seen over. I've been a weight loss coach for 25 years, and I always use this philosophy. It's called don't get fatter. And I
yeah,
don't care if you ever lose weight. I just want you to stop gaining weight. And so as a weight loss, people are like, you're a weight loss coach and you're not teaching me how to lose weight. And I'm like, well, wait, we got to stop gaining weight before we can
yeah,
start losing weight. And so I would teach them that. That's why I keep saying
yeah.
GLP-1s are the biggest game changer in my lifetime, because now for the first time, I have a tool that I can get with all the lifestyle intervention things to get people over that hump, and that can help them.
Yeah, and I think this is why I have been using more of the GLP-1s because there is a preventative place for these because I've seen this and it is a lot harder for women when they're in the full throes of menopause, which is a year, no period. It doesn't matter what your hormones look like on your labs. We can kind of get an idea, but we can't diagnose you as menopausal year without a period. But you could be, so usually those are climacteric symptoms, hot flashes, night sweats, um, mood swings, usually low libido, vaginal dryness. That's actually happening. That kind of sexual dysfunction is happening way earlier. That's getting dismissed because it's not talked about. It's a stigma. More women suffer from sexual dysfunction than men. Way more.
Except men have
There's
a pill
plenty
for
of
it, by the way, and women don't, which is
They
fascinating.
do. Well, women have, there is a little female Viagra, similar thing that we have, um, but when you're in the full throes, this is usually when women are like, the weight is finding their tipping point to get in, but it was like, hey, Dr. Preston, it was a pound and a half a year, 2 pounds, 3 pounds. And now, they're 20 pounds overweight and they want to lose weight. And I say, this is not how hormones work. Again, your fat cells, they're their own organ, right? They are dictating how your body works. We know the research behind what we're called adipokines. They have their own hormones that they love to signal and say, danger, we're on fire. So your brain now, you've got anxiety, you've got depression, because all your brain is hearing is fire and it doesn't really know where it's coming from. But it's a lot harder. Those fat cells remember, right? And so the trying to lose that is going to be a lot harder. It's possible, it's going to take a long time. So trying to get women on board before that is really the best way to do that. Um, and I think that's where all of the doctors, any practitioner needs to be talking about it because again, that's usually not going to be brought up in a quick 15-minute doctor's appointment. Yeah, they can see you're a pound more than last year, but it's not usually what you're in there for, and it's not dramatic yet. But it is a lot harder when you're already menopausal or postmenopausal to get that weight off.
And is it
Um,
unreasonable for these patients to want to lose weight once they're menopausal? Like, I know that they go to their GP and their GP says to them, like they said to my mom, you're lucky you only gained 5 pounds. You're lucky you only gained 10 pounds. Is it unreasonable that they don't want to gain any weight when they hit
no,
menopause?
no, well, that's why, no, it's not, because those fats, those your body is signaling something is wrong. It's, to me, that 5 pounds should just be treated like any other symptom, like my elbow hurts, or I have fatty liver, anything else. We don't want to ignore that. That's a sign. We don't wait till, well, this is modern medicine. They do wait till something's bad enough that it shows up on your lab, shows up on an image. I want to try to prevent it in the first place. And this is why I love that this is taking off, because it is kind of getting people to stretch their mind now into this more preventative medicine space, because that's kind of what it is. It's really, it's like bioidentical, it's a hormone. It's a
Yes.
peptide. They're just they're mimicking the amino acids, basic proteins that our body already makes. They're just not making it anymore because we're getting older, because we've overloaded our pancreas or our gallbladder at one time. We made one mistake.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just our body does remember trauma, whatever you want to say. Our body is great at that. And so most of the time it thinks it doesn't want to lose weight either. It doesn't, because there's this whole biophysiology of adaptation and balance. We know that if you try to lose weight, and if you lose it really fast, your body will double down on trying to get you to gain that back even faster. And that actually is part of that whole GLP-1 ghrelin leptin cycle. So I think, yeah, 5 pounds, I mean, that's telling us that something is going amiss and it shouldn't be ignored. And so whether you want to use GLPs, or that's a good place to, I always talk about all the studies with GLP-1s, most of them were on women, which is helpful in this conversation.
Yeah.
There needs to be bigger studies, different populations, but with the studies with women, basically the weight that you started at doesn't matter. Doesn't If you were a little bit skinnier than your friend, you're going to lose the same. It doesn't really dictate. What dictates your success is these longevity markers, these lifestyle things. The people, even diabetics, if they were on metformin first, if they got their cholesterol down 5%, made a huge difference in them losing more. So there's no hurry in getting it done, and understanding all your testing, looking more into other reasons why you're not losing weight, or why you're gaining. I think that's always important. Is yes, we can use this preventively, but again, it's still a sign that something's off, and your doctor should at least be looking at your thyroid. You should have an organic acid test, looking at your overgrowth in your gut. Do you have good bacteria? Do you have inflammation? Do you have food allergies? Because at the end of the day, maybe your hormones are fine. You're ovulating, you're making them, but there's also a difference between if you're actually absorbing them and using them.
Well, and it's
And
funny
that has a
because,
lot to do with stress, inflammation,
yes.
sleep. And so now you're in this cycle, and it's confusing. And so that's why we're coming in trying to at least find if it's the chicken or the egg, and we can start there. Because either way, you're going to be more successful at the GLPs if you want to do that route, or we'll get you to lose it without it. And then you could try it later, or just be on a really low dose. I mean,
But also the GLP-1s don't work if you don't fix these other things. We have a lot of patients that we put on GLP-1s and they don't lose weight because their body can't even utilize the GLP-1 to lose weight because it is so disrupted, whether it's their gut health or inflammation or anything, it is disrupted.
Yeah. Yeah. And I say, if you're going to be spending that much money on these tools, like, why not invest in knowing like what you need exactly, what's going to make you the most successful at that and make you feel good and not have, side effects. Everything that we can do is just going to help your success, get a little bit more muscle mass on, whatever it is. So I definitely think there's no cons to it. It's the only cons are when doctors are just dwelling it out and not building you up slowly or educating you on the muscle part, the gut stimulation part. I mean, those are easy fixes, and you probably have talked about that with the other doctors. But
why are the GLP-1s so effective at reversing that menopausal weight gain? Because it really has been the biggest game changer I've seen for menopausal weight loss.
So that stubborn fat loss. So there's two things. Again, a lot of times there has been undiagnosed pre-diabetes or insulin resistance for 10 or 20 years. Again, if you're not diabetic, doesn't mean that you had these symptoms. You had sexual dysfunction, you had anxiety, you had high blood pressure, all of those things for 10 or 20 years, and all of a sudden, bam, you're diabetic, or bam, you're just gaining weight rapidly. So there's part of that, why that's so prevalent at menopause. But like I said, it's usually that slow gain. Cortisol is a big part of that. So we're kind of saturated our body with cortisol. As women, it kind of goes back to everything's dictated on our cycle. Are we getting pregnant or not? Like that's it. And so we're kind of meant to keep on fat, keep on nutrients, but we also don't want toxins. We don't want inflammation, because we don't want that on a developing fetus, a developing baby. So our bodies are a lot more sensitive to those environmental cues, which is a beautiful thing. And I think we've had to kind of suppress those thoughts and ideas for a long time, and we're just kind of waking up to that. But the cortisol is a big part of that holding on to fat, especially that middle area. Cortisol is going to also spike your blood sugar, your insulin. Again, it's just another signal come even from your fat. We know those fat cells, cortisol is part of that release. That's another hormone. So based on this woman, instead of just, we're not just sitting around making babies, we're working out, we have jobs, we have kids, like we're doing a lot where we're not really restoring it. We can do all that. We just got to also make sure that we're restoring that. And sometimes that catches up to us. I think genetics is a big part. So understanding how your body metabolizes hormones, uses hormones, understanding back to our environment. I think that's a big part of it. We're exposed to a lot more toxins, a lot more estrogens that can be confusing to the body, and can cause more imbalances.
What's an example of an estrogen from the environment?
So xenoestrogens, basically plastics. We talk about our parabens, fire retardant, all pesticides are xenoestrogens. So their molecular structure are very similar to estrogen, meaning they can sit on the receptors, the same receptors, and actually mimic low estrogen, because they're blocking your own estrogen from actually working. So you're making estrogen. Again, that's why blood is helpful, but it's not always the end all to be all, because we can see that you're making it, you're kicking out the potential energy is there, but are you really doing anything with that energy? Probably not, because you're tired, you're fatigued, and you're overweight. And so those xenoestrogens, those they're actually also called obesogens. There are a lot of overlap with those. And that's why we think we're seeing a lot of early puberty, a lot of early obesity in our children now. And that's, again, exposure to plastics, which is it is everywhere. Again, a whole nother topic, and it's sad.
I was gonna say, lifestyle intervention is one thing. We need to talk about the environment that we live in, and what kind of soaps are we using? What kind of sunscreens that are we using? What kind of, we love Tupperware, but we've been keeping told not to microwave anything in Tupperware, and people are still doing it. I got rid of my microwave 10 years ago, and within 3 months of no longer microwaving food, I felt better and started putting on more muscle.
Oh, I believe it.
And it was
I,
shocking.
I
I
never
was like,
had a microwave growing
microwaves.
up. I grew up in such a healthy household. It was I hated it, but now I'm like, oh my God, my parents were so smart. Yeah, I even back then they were doing the silicone packets
Yeah.
for like storage. Like I was the total nerd of the school, but I loved it. But yeah, it's a lot harder. We know there's so forever chemicals, and technology is changing where we can get that out of our homes and try to restore it. I think they're even in our clothes now.
Yeah.
Um, so it's about trying to avoid those, but that ironically can mimic low estrogen because you're blocking the good effects. Some of those, estrogens are weaker than ours, some are stronger. So they can have different clinical or disease manifestations, but in general, it's mimicking low hormones when we're older and high hormones when you're younger. Um, so those are, and then, like I said, the exercise part, which goes back to cortisol. So
Yeah.
again, that intense cardio. What are you doing with cardio? You're mimicking running from the bear. You're
Yeah.
mimicking
Maybe it's stress, pure
stress.
stress.
Yeah, so those fat burning zones, people don't realize are lower cardiac. You've got to like pull it down and rein it in. And HIIT training can do that. That's okay. It's not for everybody. But, walking, like I said, sitting on the floor when you're watching TV, doing exercise, there's just so many little things.
My favorite hack is taking a backpack and putting books in it and going for a walk. So eat them after your biggest meal of the day, throw a backpack on, start putting books in that backpack and walk. Because some of these people have never even walked into a gym before. I'm not going to, I could get them to go buy a set of 5 pound weights on Amazon, but I got to get them moving.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
I know. And I feel like that was 40 years of my life between college and med school. This was before computers. So carrying that backpack, oh man.
We were strong back then,
I'm
though.
good to
We
go,
carried our
but
backpack all day, every day for years.
I know. I do have some
Well,
big
that's true.
traps now, I think, because of that, but it's okay. It was worth it. So that still goes back to, okay, you're going to do the GLPs, you're going to do, we use a lot of Manjaro. I don't know if I
Yeah,
could say
tirzepatide,
specific
which
names
I
or
love.
not, but
It's a lot less side effects, the tirzepatide.
yeah. And we know because it's working on two different systems, which is better. There's a drug that's going to be coming out that's on three
I
different
can't wait.
systems.
I'm so excited for it.
And a lot of studies in men on that one.
Yeah.
So it's the bigger studies are happening, and we're just going to see more and more positive things. But what was I going to say? So where we start with this far as, the earlier you start is better.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Can we proactively start so I'm 51. I've already gone through, I'm in menopause, but when I was 40 and 41 and 42, could I have started proactively saying, okay, I know I'm going to become perimenopausal, menopausal. Can I do GLP-1s proactively? Can I make sure I've got everything under control so when menopause hits me, I'm ready for it and I didn't have to gain that weight that I gained?
Yeah. Yes, I've definitely done it. There's no problem at all doing that. In fact, I would rather do that instead of hormones because you never know about, maybe they want to get pregnant again, whatever. I mean, the GLP is, if we can lower their body mass index, we can lower their inflammation with the GLPs. That actually helps fertility. That helps sleep, restless leg, anything that's connected with good sleep. I'd rather do that first. And then they can maintain that, or they can take a year off again or 6 months and go back on it. We don't love that, but for some reason, and forgive me if you've talked about this, but we know we're seeing a lot of people come off of it after a year, and we don't really know what's happening there. The research isn't there. I think it's more access and cost. That's where environment plays a big role in it.
Yeah.
Or, hey, you're injecting yourself all the time. I mean, it never fails. But our patients always call us back 6 months later. Hey, I gained some of it back. I don't
Yeah,
think
but I think
I
they
have
gained
never
it back
seen.
because they didn't use the GLP-1s as an opportunity to change the lifestyle. And I think that's where the coaching piece, what I do, is
Yeah,
so important. And it's overlooked in traditional medicine. I know you guys coach the lifestyle intervention piece all day long, but
I know, but it's
traditional
still, it's
doctors don't.
yeah, but it still happens. I mean, I have some, people are like, I threw up, and I'm like, well, what did you eat? I had fatty pasta ricotta, which I'm like, you can't eat that stuff. That's fat. So people need to realize that fat is going to be the slowest thing to digest in your body. So if you're already slowing down your GI tract, that fat is just going to sit right there. So it's about understanding like you're having those side effects because you're not doing it right. And again, they are rare. For the most part, people are very conscious of how they're eating. But we can't help but hone in that this could be a miracle drug, and it is,
It
and you
is.
just
It's the
got to
biggest
make
game changer I've
sure.
seen in my lifetime for weight loss.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying I'd rather use that for preventing weight gain. Now, obviously, if they're having hot flashes or osteoporosis early on, then we'll use hormones. I mean, that's why you're here to see me. We want to make sure you're on the right path, and we don't want to take a million things either. I'm also with less is more. But I've been doing that a lot more, and I think again as that's going to also be the population that's going to be more successful because they still are healthy. That population though is the one that I do watch for gallstones. That in med school we learned it's been thrown out with some stuff, but it's fair 40 and fat. That's kind of when you're high risk for gallstones. So I usually just make sure like the liver's clean. We can do an ultrasound. Maybe they've got a little sludge, but that's also you're gonna also disrupt right if you lose it too fast. That's the main thing with most of the side effects is you did it too fast, you completely stop eating, which can
You drank
happen.
alcohol while you were on GLP-1s too, which just
Yes.
blows my
Yeah.
mind that you're told multiple times not to because it slows down that stomach emptying. And they're just
Yeah.
the alcohol sitting there eating their stomach lining.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is where we got to really empower. And I'm so glad I wish I could do these all day and somehow just like put a commercial
I
on
know.
so people know this is the stuff that we need to have commercials for. But yeah, it's really important that people know it's safe and that they hold hands with their doctor. Just put a little time in at the beginning because we're here to help you, and you're paying us the big bucks. Let us give you everything we can, and it can be overwhelming. Take notes, whatever it is, because I know it's overwhelming. But I think the big thing is with women, it's a lot harder because our fat's going to be a little bit more stubborn. And so one, we need to rise above the stigma that even just because you're a little bit overweight, that there's even anything wrong, first of all. And that two, if you want, then we need to make sure that this is going to be the best option for you and that you're going to succeed. And I just, for our mental health too these days, if you can just get to the gym, walk, put, like you said, I see those vests that everyone
Yeah,
wear
those
now
cute little
too. I
vests. They get
never
them on
saw
Amazon,
those.
those little weighted vests. Yeah.
I see them everywhere now too. And I'm like, that's it. That's all you need. Like
Yeah.
5 or 10 pounds. You don't need to do more. If you
Go for a
really want
walk.
to get, yeah. And that's where you should start for any viewers that are not working out at all. The backpack, start small. Don't injure
Little
yourself.
5 pound weights in your hands, go for a walk. Just do something, get moving.
Yeah, and that's going to be the best thing for your mental health. After dinner, it lowers your glucose. I mean, there's no
That's
reason
my,
to
so
not.
I went to diabetes reversal certification many, many years ago, and I do nutrition for diabetes reversal. And that's our number one hack for for putting type 2 diabetes into remission is having people exercise directly after every
Yeah.
meal. And it works
Yes.
phenomenally well.
Yeah. I go for a walk after every meal 3 times a day. Because I especially actually at lunch is the most important because I don't want to be sleepy. I still have to work.
Yeah.
If I do that walk, yeah, it gets my insulin under control. I don't get that sugar crash. I feel a little bit happier because I got in the sun. So I think especially for women, that vitamin D, that walking, bone health. I mean, we can say these all day long, but I think just go around the block. If you have a dog, go around the block. Just that's all you need to do.
If you had one word of advice for women that are going into menopause and they're considering GLP-1s, what would it be?
Oh,
It's a very loaded question, I know.
it would be to keep up your exercise, to keep up your anaerobic exercise.
Yeah. Yeah. But you think they're perfectly safe. You think like once you do an assessment of a patient, if it's right for that patient, it's safe for that patient.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know how much you know. I mean, like I said, usually they're getting a thyroid ultrasound or abdominal ultrasound, depending on their risk factors, their gut health. And then, yeah, start low and slow. Even if
Low
you
and
don't
slow.
lose weight the first month or two, that's not abnormal. So I
Well,
guess
the clinical
that's,
research, people didn't lose weight until a month, 2.5 or 3,
yeah.
and
So
they needed
maybe
to be
that's
on it
my
for 12.
advice. Yeah, go slow is my advice.
Amazing. Dr. Preston, thank you so much for joining me for conversations
Yeah,
about
so
a new
it's
era
so
of
fun.
weight management and GLP-1 weight loss medications. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for your time, Sharon. Have a great day.
Have a great day. I want to thank you for tuning in to the Weight Loss Decoded GLP Edition podcast. My name is Sharon Polsky, your GLP Fact Fairy. And if you liked today's episode, if you could please subscribe, like, and share with your friends, that would be great. I also want to remind you that these are just the opinions of myself and my guests and should not be interpreted as medical advice. Until next time, ciao for now.